episode of the Last of Us talk show. I'm your host, Mikey, and today we are doing our season 1, episode 7, Left Behind spoiler review. So, yes, this is the spoiler episode where we're breaking down everything that happened in the episode. So, if you've not watched season 1, episode 7, Left Behind, you should pause this now, come back after you finish the episode, and then listen to this. But let's go ahead and get into this review. I will say before I start that I said on the instant reaction episode that I was feeling a little uh just a little bit down on this episode. Not down on the episode, but just a little bit uh, that this episode had not lived up to the other episodes. And I was solely basing that off of a line that was sort of left out. I will say that I have come back around on this, and I'm actually really glad uh, with how they did this in this episode. And yeah, I actually, after multiple rewatches of this episode, I'm back on board with this episode being just overall a great episode. Obviously, I thought the acting was like stupendous, especially from Bella Ramsey. But I'm back on board with the story as well, and I'm going to address some things throughout here that I feel like I've seen, my own original issue with this, and then some things I've heard people say, been talking about online, and some people I've talked about it that I know. I've talked about it with, and some issues that people have had that, that uh, again, for me, at the end of the last episode, I said that I was feeling like being a video game player, maybe that was hurting my enjoyment of the of season 1, episode 7, Left Behind. But like I said, now I've actually come back around where I'm actually glad that I'm a game player and knowing where we are in the story and what's to come. And it actually makes me appreciate this episode more. So I'm actually glad that I'm a game player now, and we'll go through that. So let's get into this spoiler review and breakdown. Okay, let's see here. To open up the episode, what we get is we see a trail through the snow that obviously something has been dragged through, and a bunch of blood in this trail. We go inside of a house because we are in like a neighborhood setting here. It's a bunch of like residential houses. So we go inside this house, and we see that there's a horse in the garage, and we see a sleeping bag and some rope and um, some other equipment that I imagine that is what Ellie used to get Joel here. I imagine she, put Joel in this sleeping bag, tied rope around it, and had the horse drag Joel to this house. Just based on what we're seeing. We go down into the basement, it looks like. Joel is laying on a mattress, bleeding out there. Just, we know the way we saw him at the end of the last episode. He was not left in good condition, and yeah, we see it here. He's still got a huge wound there. Ellie's trying to get him to put his hand over it and help her get him to slow it down. And Joel, he's feeling it. He's feeling like he's not going to make it. He tells Ellie, go north. She's like, shut up. He tells her, go north again. And she's like, shut the fuck up, Joel. Like, I love that was another one of my favorite moments that we got out of this episode. Just again, that guttural, real reaction that Bella Ramsey was doing as Ellie to really make you believe this was really happening. Um, so Joel grabs her again, tells her, "You go north, you go to Tommy," and he like tosses her across the room. She falls down. She's kind of like okay, uh, stands up, looks at him, and goes, "Okay, fine. That's what I'm gonna do." Is kind of what it looks like she's gonna do, right? Uh, we see her turn around. She goes up the stairs, grabs the doorknob, and then we cut to the past. It's her. She's, um, it looks like at a gym class at school. She's got Walkman on, listening to Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam is, again, for game players of The Last of Us. Pearl Jam's a big deal in the universe of The Last of Us. So it was cool to hear a song from them here. We'll talk about that more in the video game comparison episode. A girl named Bethany runs up to Ellie here, rips her headphones off, tells her to pick up her pace because she doesn't want to end up doing extra jills because of Ellie. And Ellie's like, I don't want to fight about it. And this Bethany girl's like, oh, well, you don't even fight. Your friend fights, and she's not here anymore. And this sparks something in Ellie. We see Ellie lunge at this girl with her fist closed. And then we cut away. And the next thing we see is Ellie. She is sitting in an office and looking like she's in trouble. What happens here is an officer from Fedra comes in, tells her, "Hey, you're smart. In fact, you're too smart. You're so smart that you're dumb." Um, and the way things are going here, you're going to have two paths to choose from. One, you could be a grunt, be told be told what to do by people like Bethany, and then end up being shot by fireflies, blown up, get your hair caught in tank tread and crushed. Just horrible things. Or two, you can become an officer and you tell people where to shove it. Plus, you get a lot of benefits when you're an officer in Fedra that other people that just live in the QZ don't have, like food, clothing, not having to go out on patrols, all kinds of good stuff. Um, Ellie's like, "Why do you even care?" And he is of the belief that Fedra is the only thing that is holding everything together. That if there was no Fedra, that that everybody would kill each other or starve to death. Now we have seen that it can be the case, but we have also seen that there can be communities that exist without Fedra and get along quite well, actually. But I think we're also seeing that potentially Fedra could run things decently as well if the right people are in charge of a quarantine zone. But still, just based off of what their base rules are, and the um the force they use to enforce their rules is they're still not the best choice. And you know same thing with the fireflies, I think. uh Anyways, here Ellie chooses to be an officer, also wants her Walkman back, which the officer does give her back. And then we cut to Ellie in her room. It's set up like a dorm room. She is reading a Savage Starlight book here. We kind of just get like a glance of her room. We see a Etta James tape, which will be important, an Aha tape, which is going to be important as well. And then we hear an officer yell for lights out. And then we see Ellie sleeping. When someone comes through the window and puts their hand over her mouth, Ellie kicks him off, grabs her switchblade, points it at the person, and then she realizes it's her friend, Riley. And uh, after they kind of, um, or Ellie kind of gets over the shock, she's, uh, you know, like, "What are you doing here?" And Riley's just like, "Well, uh, how's it going?" And Ellie just stares right through her, daggers right into her, actually. And, um, you know, wants to know where were you? And Riley said, "Hey, I just ran away for a bit." And then she's like, ask Ellie, "Well, how did you get that black eye?" And Ellie's like, "Oh, it was Bethany, and I beat her up already, so you don't have to do it," because Riley was saying that she would do it. Uh, Ellie wants to know where Riley has been. Riley says she's joined the Fireflies, and Ellie's like, "Oh, no, I don't. I don't have time for this. I'm tired. I'm not in the mood." And Riley's like, "No, I really did." And she flashes her gun that she got from the Fireflies. And Ellie is like, "Whoa, you have to explain yourself. What is going on here?" Um, and Riley says she'll tell Ellie, but first, you have to promise me something. And first, you're going to say no, but then you have to say yes. And Riley asks her to come with her for a few hours. And of course, Ellie says no. It's just like Riley thought she would. She's like, "I have drill in a few hours, by the way, where we learn to kill fireflies." And Raleigh's just like, "Come on, whatever. Let's go." Throws her clothes at her. And Ellie makes Riley turn around, and she reluctantly gets dressed and goes with her. Sort of reluctantly. Um, as she's getting ready here, Ellie's like, "Well, we can't go to the park because there's new patrol." And Riley's like, "We aren't going to the park and we're going somewhere secret." And they sneak out the window and they make it down to the street where they almost get spotted. Uh, and Riley's just like, "Hey, that wasn't that bad. We almost caught, but it was nothing. It wasn't a 7-Eleven situation." And Ellie's like, "Yeah, well, I don't want one of those uh, situations again because I'd like to keep my uh, other eyebrow intact." And if you notice, one of her eyebrows has a scar on it. And now I'm wondering what happened at 7-Eleven. And this is actually more information than we've gotten about that scar than in the video game. Because in the video game, Ellie has that scar too, but we don't know how she got it in the game. But again, we'll talk about that a little bit more in the game comparison, but I just thought it'd be fun to mention. They go through a window in like an apartment building, and they climb up 7 floors, and they find a dead guy in the hall. And Ellie thinks that this is the surprise, and Riley's like, "No, this is not the surprise. This guy wasn't here yesterday." They get closer to check it out. Thankfully, this guy's not infected, but he is, in fact, dead. Looks like he OD'd on alcohol and pills. The pills look like the pills that Joel was selling at the beginning of the show, by the way. And based on the timeline, potentially Joel could have sold the pills to this guy. But they take the alcohol. It looks like good stuff to them. It's not like hooch made by somebody. This is like good stuff from before the outbreak, so it's real good alcohol. So they take that, and they're just checking out the dead body when it suddenly like the floor below them collapses and like falls through. They have a little laugh about it, and they go outside and have a drink. And Ellie asks Riley if that was the first dead body she's ever seen. And Riley was like, "No, my parents." And Ellie was like, "Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry, I knew that. Didn't mean to." And Riley's just like, "It's okay." Because I guess, it's just people are just that used to talking about seeing dead bodies and, dead friends and family members in this world. Let's see here. Ellie uh, wants to know why, or no, not why. Ellie here asks how she wants to know how uh, Riley ended up joining the Fireflies, in which Riley explains that she was just sneaking out around like she normally does. And then this old lady, somewhere between 40 and 50, uh, approached her and thought that she looked like she was good uh, at being sneaky, and asked her if she wanted to join the Fireflies. She said yes, and she was in. It was that easy. And Ellie wants to know if it was that easy giving everything up. And Riley's like, well, if you mean being a fascist dickbag, then yes, it was easy giving that up. Of course, we know Ellie is not talking about that. She's referring to herself, but they haven't gotten to that point, in the episode yet where they're ready to admit how they feel about each other. They make their way across the roofs here, through the neighborhood, and they kind of just argue over the pros and cons of Fireflies and Fedra along the way. I think they're both like telling, well, or Ellie at least is telling um, uh, Riley that she's just like listening to propaganda. But we know that Ellie is like, buying into propaganda as well. She's been told that she could live a good life as an officer in Fedra, so she's and she made that choice. So she's buying into the propaganda that was given to her. So, teenagers easily influenced. They arrive at the mall, anyways, and Riley says that it's where they are going. Ellie's like, no, what are you, crazy? It's crawling with infected. That's why it's sealed off. And Riley points out, well, it's not actually sealed off, is it? Let's go. And they go inside, and Riley explains that the electricity here got connected when Fedra opened up this area of the city to um, open up more apartments for new people moving into the quarantine zone. But Fedra hasn't noticed or doesn't know that the power to the mall is on. Uh, Ellie asks what they're doing here, and Riley's just like, well, go through this door, turn right, go down the hall, and go through those doors and wait there, and you're gonna see. Um, they have a little joke where Ellie's like, "Oh, this would be a great place to kill me, wouldn't it?" And Riley's like, "Yeah, it would." Um, but Ellie does go through those doors, gets to the end of the hall, and Riley pulls the switch, and Ellie gets to see the mall light up right in front of her. Pretty magical moment, right? Because all those, again, neon lights and bright lights in general, I'm sure we don't get to see a lot of that in this world, that most people don't, because look at everything else that we've seen. uh Broken down, dark, dingy, and a lot of places not having power and electricity working, and what they do have working is very minimal. So this had to be pretty magical for Ellie to get to see this happen right in front of her. uh Riley joins her in the room, and Ellie's like, "Oh, well, what about the lights? Isn't somebody going to see?" And Riley assures her that nobody could see inside the mall from the outside. It's basically like a bunker in there. Riley says that she is going to show Ellie the four wonders of the mall, and then Ellie is quite impressed that Riley has planned stuff. Um, so, uh, we get a fun little moment. Aha's Take On Me plays here. Again, this is another one, just like Pearl Jam is important. Aha Take On Me is really important to the series as well, and we'll eventually talk about that. And when we do, I'll talk about why this is like personally something really important to me as well, and uh, why it's going to be so emotional for me. Just actually just hearing this song in general for me in my life is pretty emotional. But then when we get to like the emotional moment that this is, if they do it in the show, it's not guaranteed they will. Maybe they played it here just to kind of as a Easter egg to the game players. But you know, uh, especially if they get to that, if they do show what I hope they show at some point down the line, uh, it's going to be really emotional. Like I said, just this song for me, it's got a personal meaning for me. But I'll talk about that when we get to that point. And if we never do, if they never do it in the show, I'll tell you guys why. But just cool to hear the song here in general. Um, Ellie, while we're hearing the Aha's Take on Me, she starts to go on an escalator. She calls them electric stairs. She's never seen them before or been on them, so she's like super excited, like running up and down them, being able to like walk, uh, in the opposite direction of the escalator and stay in the same place. So they're playing around on the escalators, and they or Ellie's like, "Oh, is this the first wonder?" And Riley's like, "Well, I guess there can be five wonders now." They both play on these escalators for a little bit, and they have a little moment where Ellie kind of like stumbles and kind of falls into Riley, um, and then yeah, they part ways a little, or break back up, or apart, and then they make their way to the next wonder. And while they're walking through the mall, Ellie notices, well, there's like some stores that are completely empty while some are still full. And Riley tells her, oh, well, her parents explained to her that people looted stuff at the beginning of the outbreak. Kind of started out whatever people wanted, and then people came back for, what they actually needed because it was obviously a serious thing. Maybe people weren't taking it that serious in the beginning, because nobody in the world had seen, the, a virus that could turn you into basically a zombie and eat your family and friends, and then turn you into the same thing within, depending on where you got bit, within a matter of minutes to, into just a few hours. Um, but they do come across a Victoria's Secret store, and Riley's like, "Oh, this stuff looks uncomfortable," and then laughs and remarks that it would be, or that it is funny imagining Ellie wearing any of that stuff. And yeah, Ellie has a little self conscience here. They're both still kind of feeling each other out here. Um, on where they stand with the relationship. As of right now, they're just friends, but you can tell they both want to be more, but they both are scared to tell each other that. So they keep going, but Riley tells Ellie to close her eyes and give her her hand, so she can lead her to the next spot. So they're holding hands here, and you could tell Ellie, she's got her eyes closed, but she's quite liking that she's getting to hold Riley's hand. And um, Riley leads her to that spot, and when Ellie opens her eyes, there is a just like a gorgeous carousel there. And Riley turns it on, and uh, the Cure plays, just like heaven, and again with the Aha Take on Me, and now the Cure, just like heaven. That's 280 songs that has played during this episode, by the way. So not only are they good songs, cool songs, one of them, personal meaning for me, and hopefully going to have like a great emotional moment at some point during this story. Um, but this is the second 80 song that has played now, so that means it could be some trouble in this one, right? They're not getting, they don't know the signs of this 80s music. Ellie hadn't learned at this point that 80s means trouble. The carousel dies, and Riley says she will turn it back on, but Ellie's like, no, wait. Um, she wants to know if Riley really left because she thinks she can liberate the QZ, and Riley's like, hey, don't talk like it's not possible. It's happened in other places. The Fireflies have liberated other places, and they have lived out, more peacefully than um, what they're doing, uh, what Fedra is doing. Now we've seen it go bad as well, that the people can revolt and turn out like Kansas City, and we've also seen, an example like Jackson where people just went out on their own and are living a good life. So, like I said, in this world, people make it the way they can, right? Um, but again, Riley thinking that the Fireflies is the way to go. They're butting heads here again because Ellie thinks that they could do it together from inside Fedra, that they could make things better if they both just stay in Fedra and, become officers and lead. And then Riley says, actually, that's not going to be possible because, uh, you know, Fedra doesn't see her that way. She's been assigned to sewage detail. So she has to just watch people shovel shit all day. And that's what Fedra thinks of her. Uh, Ellie's upset that Riley didn't even tell her in the first place. And Riley's like, well, yeah, when I found out, I was like scared, embarrassed, sad. So she ran away. And the longer she was away, it was harder to come back. But Ellie was the one thing that Riley missed from that place. And hopefully that makes Ellie feel better. And Ellie says just a little bit. There's 3 more wonders to go still. So Riley's like, let's go to the next one. And it is a photo booth. They get in there, have a bunch of funny pictures taken. Um, and they get the pictures done. They don't turn out so great, but one is okay. So Riley tells Ellie to keep it. And I kind of feel like Riley here, she knows what she's going to tell Ellie in just a little bit. So she wants Ellie probably to keep that picture so that Ellie will, you know, not forget her and be reminded of her. Let's see here. They make their way to the next wonder, which is the 4th wonder, and it is a gaming arcade. And yeah, I mean, to me, this is even a wonder because that is a cool looking arcade. There's not a lot of arcades like that now. So I definitely would agree with Riley. That is definitely a wonder. Ellie says it's the most beautiful thing that she has ever seen. But she's like bummed out because they don't have any coins, so they won't even be able to play. And then Riley goes over to the the cash machine, exchange machine for coins, opens it up and has a bunch of coins pour out. Says that she spent an hour the day before getting it open, and again, she planned out that magical moment where hey, look how impressive this is going to be. So she had to put a lot of thought into that. Riley takes Ellie over to a Mortal Kombat 2 cabinet, which Ellie is super excited about, and they play. Um, Riley. Turns out she's been playing this a little bit, so she gets a flawless victory on Ellie in the first match and performs a fatality. And they love it. And they keep playing some more. As they keep playing, we zoom out from them and we can see an infected in another part of the mall that seems to be woken up from their voices. Now, I saw a lot of people wondering how in the world did this happen? Um, one, how come they didn't know a zombie or an infected was there, right? Well, we know that this area was just opened up recently, so maybe they didn't, go through every single part of the entire mall to this point. People wonder why hasn't the zombie or infected woken up before when we know that Riley set this stuff up in the past. Now, we know that she had to have tested all these things out, right? We know that she also played the arcade games, but when she was there, she was by herself. So she probably possibly wasn't like yelling and getting excited as much as she is with Ellie. And in the episode, as we're zooming out, I feel like the loudest sound as we zoom out from them, everything kind of starts to fade away, but their voices are still the loudest part. So I kind of feel like, maybe that was their voices were loud enough to kind of stir awake this infected that's hanging out in this other part of the mall. Um, but let's keep going here. Um, they keep playing Mortal Kombat. They kind of have a moment here where Ellie really looks like she's like wanting Riley to make a move, and Riley just kind of, this is where she backs out and is like, "Oh, let's go to the next wonder." Um, but this kind of seems like a good point for Ellie, where she's like, "Okay, I guess Riley's not making moves, so well, I should go back to my room. I have, drills in the morning. I can't get in trouble again." And Riley's like, "Well, you still have hours, and I got you a gift." And Ellie cannot resist a gift. Um, so Riley takes her to another part of the mall, and it's like a macho nacho taco shop place. And we find out Riley has been staying here. She's, um, got a sleeping bag set up in there, and she gives Ellie her gift, which is the Book of Puns, Volume 2, which we have seen Riley read from with Joel. Uh, Ellie, in this back area where Riley is sleeping, finds pipe bombs that were made by Riley, in fact. And Ellie is like super pissed because she's like, these are used to kill soldiers. And Riley's like, "Well, yeah, but we're not going to use them on civilians, and we're not going to use them on you. I would never let Fedra use them near you, Ellie." And Ellie's like, "Riley, how can you say that? Like, what makes you think that the Fireflies are going to listen to you?" Uh, and Ellie's like, "Okay, okay, whatever. I'm leaving." She starts to leave the mall. Riley chases after her and tells her that she's leaving. And this gets Ellie to stop in her tracks. Riley says, "I'm being sent to a post in the Atlanta QZ." She says, "I asked if you could join Ellie, but the Fireflies said no. I wanted you to join so that you can come with me, but Marlene told me no." And Ellie's like, "Well, who's Marlene?" Uh, Riley says like, "Oh, she's the one that helped me join the Fireflies, but that doesn't matter." And then Ellie's like, "Well, why did you even bring me to the mall? Um, you know, none of this was even about me. Why did you do this?" And Riley was like, "Well, I wanted to see you, Ellie, and I wanted to say goodbye, and it isn't easy." And Ellie's, again, like we said in a couple episodes ago, like sometimes you can, um, the people that you're closest with are the people that you can hurt the most. Because Ellie here, you know, they are, even though both of them obviously throughout what we've seen in this episode would like to be more, they are best friends. And Ellie says, you know, "Yeah, it is easy. In fact, you just did," and walks away. Ellie, we see her leaving. She's really looking like she's going to leave, but she stops to turn around and go back. And as she's making her way back, she hears screaming. So she begins to like run towards the scream. She's like super scared. And when she reaches it, it's the sound of some prop toy in a Halloween store. And Riley's there, sitting down, looking all bummed out, and she's like, "Surprise! This is the fifth wonder. I saved it for last because, I thought you would like it the best, Ellie. This was something I thought you would like the most. Um, Ellie says, uh, that Riley left. Uh, I, she thought Riley was dead. Then Riley comes back and gives her this wonderful night, and now she tells her that she's leaving again, and Ellie doesn't understand it. Uh, and Riley just tells Ellie that she doesn't know what it's like to belong. That she doesn't have a family. Ellie's never had a family, and Riley did. She had parents. She didn't have them for long, but she had them, and she belonged, and she wants to belong again. And she feels like Fedra, she doesn't matter to Fedra, but uh, the Fireflies chose her, and to the Fireflies, she matters. And Ellie says, "Yeah, but you mattered to me first." Um, and Ellie asks Riley if she's really sure about leaving, and Riley still says yes. Ellie says, "Okay, uh, you're my best friend, and I'll miss you." I'm not saying it all pissy and shit. Like, I really, if this is what you want, then okay, and I'm gonna miss you. And Riley says, "Okay, well, the night isn't over yet." She gives Ellie a wolf mask to wear, and she puts on a clown mask and reveals that she took Ellie's Walkman and her Etta James tape and plays it. She gets up on the display case and she starts dancing, wants Ellie to join her. And they're just having a good time, having a fun dance. And again, this was great acting from Bella Ramsey because she's got a mask on, right? But when she stops dancing here, the way she holds her body, you can tell what the exact motion that she's trying to portray and what she's thinking. Because Ellie stops dancing and takes off her mask, and is just like, longingly looking at Riley, who then takes off her masks and asks her what. And then Ellie pleads with Riley not to go. And Riley says, "Okay." Then Ellie leans in, kisses Riley, and then says she's sorry. And Riley's like, "For what?" And they share a laugh. And I loved this entire segment here, the dancing and then the removing of the mask and kiss, because they've been throughout all 5 of these wonders. At each wonder, they had a moment where they were getting close and they were, uh, you know, just that close to being able to tell each other, well, yeah, you're my best friend, but this is actually how I actually feel about you. But at each time they would like put their mask back on, a barrier between them, right? And so I love the fact that in this moment they actually had a physical mask on, a physical barrier between them that they then have to remove to reveal to each other how they feel. I thought that was like a brilliant piece of um, storytelling there, the way they did that. Let's see here. Ellie is just like, "Okay, well, what do we do next?" And Raleigh says, "Hey, we're going to figure it out." And unfortunately, it's going to be figured out for them because we hear a noise. And that noise is an infected. Riley says, "Get ready to run." She gets her gun out, and this infected breaks into the shop, starts chasing after them. They fuggle, they fight it and struggle with it, and it's like right on him. I mean, Riley got a couple of shots into this infected, but it didn't go down. So then now they're fighting it like hand to hand combat. Ellie finally is able to stab it in the head and kill it. And she's excited about that, but then she notices Riley is just like, you know, got a, she's staring at her like she's seen a ghost. And she's looking right down at Ellie's arm specifically. So Ellie looks down and she sees that she has been bitten. And again, the acting from Bella Ramsey here, just like looking down at her arm, we see her like trying to wipe away that blood, wipe away the fact that there's a bite there. She's like screams no, in just like the most guttural way that just, oh my god, how could you not feel for that character in that moment the way she did that. And then, you know, she's just feeling like, oh no, why now? Like, I just had something good in my life, was about to connect, and then now it's taken away. And then Riley reveals that she has also been bitten on her hand. We actually cut back to the current time here, and we see Joel. He's laying on the mattress still, and now we see Ellie upstairs. She is searching the house for supplies. We cut back again to the flashback. Um, Ellie is got some sort of like metal pipe or something, and she is like smashing the glass case, just like pissed off, right? Just smashing, getting all her anger out. While Riley just sits at the end of the case, just waiting there for Ellie. And Ellie comes, sits next to her, and Riley's like, well, there's more stuff you can break. And Ellie's just like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do now? And Riley says, well, we have two options. One, we take the easy way out. It's quick and painless, but I don't like option one. And she, puts the gun down, puts that away. And option two, we just keep going. Ellie says, it's over. There's nothing left. We're going to turn into one of those monsters. And Riley says, it will be over, but it's not yet. We don't quit. We keep going. Whether it's 2 minutes or 2 days, we don't give that up. We don't give up. I don't want to give that up. And she said we could just be all poetic and shit and lose our minds together. Yeah. Again, here, this is where I was, and then this will be a little preview for the video game comparison episode, because this was the area where I was feeling so great about this episode up until this point, and it was only because they left a line out. And instead of saying, we keep going in the video game, Riley says we fight, right? And she talks about we fight for 2 more minutes, we fight for 2 more days. But as I rewatched, because like I said, I recently replayed the this section of the game, because it was downloadable content. It was not a part of the original game. This was downloadable content that was added on, about a year later. I think maybe a little bit less, but it was added on later, and it was just like an additional story piece. But the way it's presented in the game, I feel like they are both, and Riley is like certain that they are going to die, right? And so they're just like talking about, oh, we got to fight for every second because we're not going to have much time left with each other because we're going to die. And I actually feel like Riley here just saying that we keep going and we don't give up actually relates better back to tying it back into what is happening with Joel, because we do cut back to Joel here and we see how this moment had affected Ellie in the present. She's been in a situation where, yeah, things looked dire, things looked really bad, like they were going to die. But you keep going. Ellie didn't die. We are pretty sure that Riley died. We don't know how, because of course they don't show us, which is same as the game as well. So that's going to be really interesting to see if we get to see that or not. Because again, just a little preview for what we're going to talk about in the video game comparison. The game in this downloadable content, this section that was added in, it ends exactly the same way. We just cut away from Riley and Ellie, not seeing exactly what happens next. I will say I've seen, and because I know what happens in the games, and we've seen the trailer, I know that there are characters cast for this show that we have never seen or talked about. I mean, we have talked about, but we have never seen in the games. So I think it's still possible we're going to, I mean, I don't know for sure if we will see exactly what happens with Riley, but I imagine there's still going to be more flashbacks and that we will see it because this show has already shown us a lot of stuff that we never got to see in the game. So I don't think it'll always be a mystery of exactly how that happened. I would like to know, is uh, Riley the first person that Ellie killed when she told Joel, you know, "Yeah, I've actually um, killed someone before"? Was it Riley? Or, you know, did the Fireflies come looking for Riley and see that she was infected, so like shot her first, or like started to attack, and Ellie killed somebody trying to protect Riley before she turned. I'll be really curious to see if they ever actually show us those events. But anyways, let's get back to the events of the show here. We cut back to Ellie here. Oh wait, actually, we before we get that, Ellie asks if there's an option three, and Riley just says, "I'm sorry," and that's when we cut away. You know, they start holding hands, and they're just holding each other, embracing each other at that moment. Riley didn't know that there's actually is an option three. Option three is that Ellie is immune, but of course, neither of them knew that. Okay, so we cut back to the house now, where Ellie has found some stuff now, a thread and a needle, and you know, she grabs that, runs back downstairs. Her and Joel hold hands for a moment, and then Ellie just starts to stitch Joel up, and that is how the episode ends. Still unsure if Joel is going to make it. I've seen a lot of comments again on the good old internet where people are like, "Oh my gosh, she's gonna stitch him up with a dirty needle and thread. She didn't even sterilize him and sanitize him." Well, I don't know where you think she was going to be able to sterilize and sanitize the thread and needle in this house that's been probably abandoned for the last 20 years. I don't know what you were doing. And that tells me if you are thinking that way, I wouldn't want to be with you in this situation. I don't want to be with somebody who just throws their hands up and gives up and says, "Oh, well, there's not the perfect set of equipment here, so I might as well not even do it." No, I want to have somebody who has had the situation that Riley had, or not Riley, that Ellie had, where you know she has been affected so much where she says, "No, we don't give up. You know, no matter what, I'm going to try something. I'm going to do something. I'm not just going to say, oh, well, I have a dirty needle and thread, so this isn't going to work because you'll just end up with an infection and die from that, anyways." Well, you know what, guys? Um, that is a real possibility. I'll say that. But, you know, you have to try. You have to try. I mean, you can't just give up. And again, I think that's why I actually turned back around on this episode, because I feel like it was important to see that is why Ellie is not giving up on Joel. She, even with as dire as the situation looks, like she's not going to give up on him because she knows that, and been in the situation that she learned from, that yeah, you don't give up because you want to, like, especially when it's somebody you care about, you want to fight and not give up any moment that you can have with them, and possibly, you know, extend their life so that you can be with them longer if that's a possibility. Don't give up on that. So again, to me, this was actually a really important episode. Just like we saw Bill and Frank, and how that story was for Bill, mirroring Joel, and telling us a lot about how Joel is. I think this was actually a really important episode. I'm glad we got it here to figure out where Ellie is in her life. We're not using a mirror here for Ellie. We're just learning about her own experience and why her connecting with somebody is really important. And Joel telling her that she doesn't know what loss is. Well, we know that she does know what loss is, and now that she's she's connecting with Joel again, she doesn't want to lose another connection, and it's that important to her to keep that connection, because again, that's her biggest fear, is ending up alone. She want and Joel doesn't makes her feel like she isn't alone, so she's got to save him. So again, yeah, this was a really really good episode. I'm glad we got it here. And it, again, to me, um like I said, at first glance of this episode, I was kind of bummed out that I was a game player, because I felt like it took away from the episode. But upon rewatches, I'm glad I am a game player, because the other criticism I heard about this episode was people were feeling like, oh, well, there's only 2 episodes left. There's only 2 more episodes left after this, and we didn't advance the story far enough. There's only 2 episodes left. How are you going to tell the rest of the story in 2 episodes? Um, well, let me tell you, as a game player, I know how fast this story ramps up and how much happens after this exact point in the game. A lot of stuff happens really fast, and if you've noticed throughout this show, we get a lot of time jumps, right? Sometimes a couple of weeks at a time, a couple months at a time, sometimes many months at a time, right? The video game does that same exact thing. In fact, they jump by seasons. The story is told in seasons in the game. You're going to see, fall, winter, and it tells you by the season that you're in. Normally going like three months at a time. So I imagine we haven't seen our last little time jump. Again, it's like one of those things where I'm sure people will be like, "Oh, but what happens in between?" Well, again, I don't think I need to see them just like walking on trails, and whatnot. We get the basis of, we know what their relationship is. So I want to see them get to the next pivotal point in the story and relationship, and we're going to be getting to those pivotal points really quickly here. So I'm very confident that they will get to the conclusion of this story in the next 2 episodes without making it feel rushed. So yeah, that's why I'm actually glad that I'm a game player now, because I know what happens in the rest of the story, and I know how fast these things happen in the game, compared to where we are in the show. And it makes you feel like, okay, yeah, no, we're actually where we should be, and they can get this done. All right, but yeah, that is the episode. I would greatly appreciate it if you are watching on YouTube, if you hit that subscribe button, and leave a comment. Since this episode centered around a mall, let me know, what was your favorite part of the mall when you were a kid, or if you are a kid now, what's your favorite part of the mall now? But I'm in my late 30s. Like, I don't know, what do kids enjoy at the mall nowadays? And then if you're somebody like me, my age or even older, what did you enjoy about the mall when you were a kid? So subscribe, leave a comment. I've been looking at numbers in general for the for my YouTube numbers, just the number of hours watched and all that. Like, this is actually, I only have like 40 subscribers on this channel. My main channel has like over 600, and I talk about Fortnite on that channel, and I only do like 10 minute episodes, but I do it every day. And a lot more people listen to that podcast, but not a lot of YouTuber people come over to that. So actually, just with just 40 subscribers on this YouTube channel, I have more hours watched and you know, yeah, like more hours watched, more views, and views like per average in the last month than I have with my channel that has like over 600. So I know you guys are out there watching. So I really appreciate some feedback and hitting that subscribe button. And then if you're a podcast listener, same thing. Um, I've done a lot of podcasts uh, throughout the last. I don't know how long I've been podcasting for, 7, 8 years, somewhere in that range. I've been doing it a lot, and the numbers are going up quick and fast. you know, uh, uh, to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm really excited about that. If you're a podcaster and you're listening on Apple Podcasts, I'd really appreciate you subscribing there and leaving a 5-star rating and especially a written review, because those things they really help more people find the show. And it is free to do. So if you're enjoying it, it's just a nice thing to do for me and potentially the community. Hopefully, it will help more people find it, and we can build a little community here. And then if you're listening on another podcast platform, if you hit the follow button, subscribe button, whatever it is on there, and tell your friends about it, I'd really appreciate it. I'm just bringing this all up now because, just looking at all the numbers, it's getting pretty exciting. And wanting that feedback. So also the Last of Us Talk show at gmail.com. If you're just a podcast listener and you're not going to be commenting on YouTube, I love feedback. I love talking about these things with people. Obviously, you're listening to me talk about these shows. Whether it's like a 10-minute episode or I can talk about a show by myself for over an hour sometimes. So I would love to talk to people, to talk about these things with other people. That way I'm not just talking to myself. All right, really appreciate it. Until next time, endure and survive.